hi everyone. Welcome to the Amber Show. And today I have these two lovely guests next to me. So I'll let them introduce themselves, starting with Kelvin.
Hi everyone, my name is Clavin Shen. I head the sales and business development team at Hex Trust. We are Asia's leading digital asset custodian.
This is Ivan Lee. I'm the co-founder and managing partner of Building Capital. So yeah, good to see you.
So I think today's topics, since we have these lovely guests here, are going to be on blockchain custody solutions, institutions getting into the space, and more data-driven security methods of how blockchain is changing the space. So let's get started with some background on how both of you got into blockchain. We can start with Alvin. Let's just keep it really casual. I just messed up the intro, so go ahead.
Oh, sure. So this is Ivan. So I was an engineer at TSMC. So, boring job. And then I moved to Shanghai for my own startup for 4 years plus. And then come back to Taipei starting Rebuilding Capital. That's where I met crypto at the very beginning. So we invest in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Made a little bit and then put it back to our venture fund. So ever since we invest in sort of blockchain startups and some applications like cybersecurity, data governance, or those data collection solutions projects, and also data analysis projects.
That's interesting. What was the first coin you invested in since you came back?
You mean crypto or?
Crypto, yeah.
Crypto, like early 2017.
Like which coin? Was it Bitcoin or something else?
Oh, it was Ethereum for sure.
That's very cool. So Ivan, I always call Ivan like the celebrity of blockchain in Taiwan. He has a lot of fans. So all of you out there, please follow Ivan on social media. He's also really active in TED Talks and a lot of other things. How about you, Kelvin? Kelvin is new to Taiwan. Let's hear a bit about his background and how he got into blockchain.
Yeah, thanks, Amber. And it's new to Taiwan is correct, even though I was born in Taiwan. Having said that, I did grow up in the U.S., so in fact, it is actually, I am actually relatively new to Asia. And part of that reason that brought me back to Asia is, beyond the family reasons, but certainly with blockchain, particularly with my current role with Hex Trust, which is the custodian that's headquartered in Hong Kong. Before moving to my current role, I came from traditional financial services background. I was on the buy side, and just like many people in my demographic, I found Bitcoin to be quite fascinating, right, from an investable background. I got into crypto in early 2017, so definitely not the crypto OG, but still when Bitcoin was less than $2,000 at that time. So certainly beyond, earlier than the mass public, but again, not early enough. So moving after graduate from business school and had some stint on Wall Street, I decided to join a fintech startup in San Francisco, which is basically using online lending and blockchain technology to streamline the peer-to-peer lending services using blockchain technology. And again, after which I moved to my current role at Hex Trust, which is really focusing on the infrastructure layer and the custody components for digital assets on behalf of institutional investors.
I think I know me and Hex Trust go back, I think, way before even Kelvin was a part of Hex Trust. Maybe you can kind of talk a bit about, the background of how Hex got started and where they saw the pain point in the industry.
Yeah, so Hex Trust was founded about 3 years ago. The idea was to basically provide institutional grade custody, right? So recall that 3 years ago, this new institutional grade custody thing was new. In fact, it didn't really exist at that time. So we always had a thesis that, in order for the big institutional players like Goldman Sachs, like the hedge funds, the traditional big money guys to come into the space, they need to really making sure that there is an institutional and bank grade infrastructure solutions, right? So the idea is very simple. How do you safe keep Bitcoin at an institutional scale, right? So when all these hedge funds and big banks coming in with $1 billion, $10 billion, $100 billion, right? Let alone the market is not that big at that time. But if they want to come into the space, they have to make sure that their assets are safe, their clients' assets are safe, that there is a bank grade solution as well as the right regulatory framework from a compliance perspective for them to get into the ecosystem. So we started tackling that problem 3 years ago. And fast forward 3 years, to this day, it's great at this point. It's great to hear, household names like Goldman, JP, Deutsche Bank, HSBC, you name it. They're all finally in various stages to get into the space.
And congratulations on your last week's news of your successful Series A. Do you feel that these big brands or big name banks is it going to be harder for them to enter Asia, or how is that going to happen with their entities here in Asia?
Yeah, I would say Asia is actually from a growth potential perspective, probably the best region. Now, obviously, the biggest market are the U.S., but from a regulatory framework perspective, you can always hear that the U.S. SEC may not be the most friendliest from a regulatory perspective. So where Asia is a little bit different, right? Just because you have many different jurisdictions, the likes of Japan and Korea, who are kind of the OGs in the crypto space, but also you have Taiwan, Hong Kong, and certainly Singapore, which we're actually opening an office there. The Monetary Authority of Singapore, MAS, has been very supportive of innovative technologies, including the likes of blockchain.
Thank you. There's so much we can talk about that, and we'll get back to it later. But I'm really curious, and Ivan. Ivan is I don't want to make fun of you, but I hope you see it as a compliment. The poster boy of blockchain in Taiwan, and really representing Taiwan with your stint at TSMC and all of the other things you do. What is your view on the sector here in Taiwan? How did you get involved with all of these big entities here? And from that perspective, what are your thoughts and what do you think?
All right. I feel so much different. So since we're here in Taiwan and office here, operation here, so I would say that before 2020, I wouldn't say, we invest in cryptos before 2020, because we talk to governments, those listing governments, companies, enterprises, because they got confused if we know Bitcoin, if we invest in crypto. Because we got a venture fund, right, investing startups, those especially blockchain startups. But if we talk about Bitcoin, they get confused. Hey, are you guys serious, or why you involved with Bitcoin? But after since the beginning of this year, 2021, it's totally different. When we go out there and then say, hey, we know Bitcoin, and then we've been investing in this domain for a long time. So those traditional institutions, they come to us, say, hey, how can we do a crypto fund here? Can we legally got a structure here in Taiwan, or if not, can we do it somewhere else, offshore, Hong Kong, Singapore? We're trying to figure out the solutions for those traditional financial institutions, and seriously, a lot of institutions come to us. So we are talking about signing the exclusive deals with certain investing companies or banks. But yeah, we're not deciding yet, but we see the demand, and then we see the wave is coming. So we gonna be here and then ride it.
Awesome. I think you also kind of touch upon an emphasis on cybersecurity and data. So can you please explain more how you approach these fields?
Okay, so when we're speaking of real applications in real world of blockchain technologies, so we prefer we go another way. Instead of Web3 innovations, we go for I would say industrial blockchains. So most of those core technologies mixed with the blockchain technology, and then they can provide solution to those enterprises, listing companies, and governments. That's what it needs. So you solve the real problems, right? So, for example, cybersecurity. We see a really strong need on cybersecurity every generation, every era, every year. So that's why, based on the strong need, and then blockchain technology provides really innovative ways to prevent certain virus or hackers. For example, everybody knows the virus called what's that name again? WannaCry. Okay, WannaCry basically they hijack your file system. Every kind of file JPEG or Excel, Word. So the virus come into your computer and hijack the file, and then kind of blackmail you for Bitcoins. Yeah, as a return. So current let's say Web 2.0 world, we cannot prevent this kind of attack. But with blockchain technology, say Web 3.0 world, we can actually solve the problem. So that's a big change. Yeah. So for example, like one of our portfolio, very brilliant cybersecurity team. So their solution is basically like they can put all the files into pieces and then encrypt it and then spread it onto those blockchain nodes and then encrypt again. So very highly, protect all those file systems. So that's why all those, like military units, like some really intelligence units, companies, they came to this project and asked for the solutions.
Well, besides blockchain, do you see that there are other technologies being deployed in the sector, or what other advancements are being made?
You mean like for cybersecurity, or I would say like different kind of approach of cybersecurity. So it's always a strong need. So it's a huge market cap there. So I see a few of innovative like solutions, startups in the world, like trying to tackle this problem with different approaches. But what we see is these solutions, like our portfolios, they tackle this problem with zero trust concept. What's zero trust? So basically, we assume every single one is not is a bad guy. So like every single one would attack at a certain point, certain time. So basically, we just prevent this from very beginning from happening. So we assume every single one is a bad guy. So we basically hide everything. We hide every file, every data. So you cannot find it. So when you couldn't find it, you cannot attack it or steal it. So that's the concept.
Very cool. So are there other companies in your portfolio that are making the whole IT network a safer place, or can you maybe elaborate on that?
Okay. There's another one. There's another project called Sharpest, but still based on zero trust. So they focus on more about authentication. So when we talk about cybersecurity, especially data security, there's a triangle there. So you gotta ensure the safety of the data storage or data transaction and authentication. So like who can read or who can access to the data. So that's a triangle there. So we try to solve this security problem with all these three kind of solutions. So we invest in the like data storage security solution and some authentication solutions, and we're still trying to find out more these kind of projects, these kind of companies tackling on this problem.
Awesome. So I think this is all really on like personal safety. I'm wondering let's go back to the custody solution. I'm wondering, like, I get this question a lot, but like who needs like a third party custody solution? Do we all, or how do you guys think is the best way to keep ourselves safe, or keep our crypto safe at least?
Yeah, I know this is, custody is kind of an interesting question, especially for the real kind of blockchain believers, right? Because blockchain is built on this basis that it's decentralized. Custody is obviously the exact opposite, right? Because it's very much centralized. But the idea here is that, as this world continues to kind of evolve into the, any digital representation of value, there's always going to be a need for a custodian, because as a third-party licensed entity who focus on infrastructure, who is probably regulated by the relevant jurisdiction or the regulators, basically it holds somebody accountable for some of these very large institutional, players on behalf of holding client assets. So that's why, before, the rhetoric in 2017 with the crypto boom was, mass retail inflows. Now in late 2020 and early 2021, the rhetoric has always been institutional money, right? So the big money are finally coming into this space, into digital assets. And I think part of the contribution, at least in Tailwind, are really twofold. One is on the regulatory clarity side, right? So now it's very clear that, from a jurisdiction and regulatory framework perspective, there are major framework coming from, major countries like Singapore, for example, and to a certain extent OCC in the United States, that they do provide some type of, guidance that, crypto is allowed and is okay as an investable asset, subject to certain, AML and KYC and some type of regulatory clarity. The other part is on the infrastructure side, which is custody, right? Because as I mentioned earlier, before the big traditional players would actually even think about coming to the space and offer the service to clients, they want to make sure that they're able to safekeep and that for client assets, that they're able to provide the infrastructure solutions, really the plumbing behind the scenes, so to speak. So before that's taken care of, before there's such bank grade solution for it, they weren't going to come in and kind of stay on the sideline. So I think that's two kind of the main tailwinds to leading to today.
But what about people like myself, people like our audience, like both of you? Like, how do we keep our crypto safe, and how do we keep our data safe?
So so me personally, I use cold wallet and of course like online wallet for sure, and some assets I put it into probably like exchange wallet. And besides that, echo to Calvin. So how can we bring all this? Because we've been meeting with so many traditional finance institutions. So how can bring their money into crypto world? So we need custody solution for sure. That's why that's probably the first reason we need custody solution, because we need to bring all this huge money into a crypto world and then trying to build some new economy. And then that's first. And second is, so since the banking system there is been so long, over 100 years, so like me or like other people, we individually, we don't get used to handle our own money. I mean, we always put money into a bank, right? Traditionally, but we do not know like how to handle with say 200 million of US dollars. I should manage it by my own. That's like a pain in the ass. I cannot do it by my own. So that's the second reason we need custody. And then third, so I actually forgot the third one. So when I think about it,
Sure, please.
No.
Such a build-up.
I love it. It's gonna create the grand finale, so we're excited about that.
The third point of why we need custody.
Right, and then so if just on the custody side, right? So so I remember when I first got into crypto. Obviously, I didn't have major assets, right? But I did remember printing out my private key literally on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And I printed multiple copies and I spread it across, my room, my parents, And then later on, I did have a nano ledger, right? So it's a hardware kind of USB thumb drive. It's basically kind of a retail cold wallet, if you will. It's offline, and it works. So, from a retail smaller amounts perspective, I think that makes perfect sense.
I know, but you say that, but then you're like, okay, well, how much is necessary before, like, as an individual, as a high net person, should I seek out a third party? Like, I think that's a question people want to know, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So honestly, even if I since I do run a kind of a institutional grade custodian, I do think kind of typical smaller amount retail investors, they're more than welcome to use a nano ledger for their own personal investment, and I think that's perfectly okay. Now, what to think about third party custodian, right? Again, is when you have the fiduciary to hold client assets. When you actually have to hold, because you run a hedge fund or some type of asset management firm, and you do have to hold on behalf of client assets, all of a sudden the question becomes liability, right? What happens if you were to lose the private key? What happens when you see all these negative press on exchanges because they got hacked, because they use an on-the-bus account wallet, they literally have one private key, so that gets compromised and you lose hundreds of millions worth of client assets, right? We've seen that rhetoric over and over again for the past few years. So this is the reason why custody, I think will always be there, because it's a liability, not to mention the fact that we have external insurance, which is very hard to come by, with the Lloyd's of London's to underwrite a certain insurance policy, because they had to make sure they're comfortable with your process and your security protocol, leading to cybersecurity we talked about earlier, before they would even consider underwriting such policy.
I think Ivan has a lot of experience in this. Do you also are there any personal stories? Like, I'll put it out there, I've lost, wallet, passwords, keys quite a few times. Do you have any personal experiences?
Actually, I don't have such experiences, since I'm an investor and I do risk control, right? So that's why, so the last but not the least, Kelvin just bring it up. Insurance is the third reason I need custody, because when you got insured, so your product, your solutions pass certain level of verification. So that's why you got insurance company coming in. So we need custodian solutions, because our asset can be protected by insurance, but by my own, I cannot do it, right? But like personally or every individual. So I think it's very important because insurance is, like you cannot see the risk, but risk is everywhere. So how to handle risk and how to deal with it.
Is that your most frequently asked question, Kelvin, or what are like the main questions or solutions that your clients ask you?
Yeah, the main question is really, okay, well, why, you talk a big game, right? You have the best security and whatnot. But how do you prove that? Like, how do I know? So I think insurance is one thing. I think insurance at this point has become a minimum requirement. I believe all major custodians now have some form of insurance, one form or the other. So I think that's kind of called a checkbox at this point. In fact, as if you're considering, a custodian, that would be one of the checkboxes for you to check for your due diligence. Now, one of the kind of different value differentiator is that if you look at some of the past incidents, right, from a hacking bad events perspective, while we focus on technology, we focus on cybersecurity, we focus on external intrusion, one of the biggest reasons for bad things is actually internal bad actors. So if you have employees that decided to go rogue, okay, well, if you don't have the right internal control, how do you prevent someone to have access to the system to just take off of client assets? Or better yet, right, the example with the Canadian exchange with the founder passed away, disappear, whatever, something, and, something, but apparently no one has access to client assets now, right? So these things still do happen. So, we really focus on securities at, multiple levels, right? So cybersecurity, we're talking about physical securities because we do have physical vaults, to hold keys.
Where are they?
we can discuss that offline, but we actually do have physical vaults. So think armed guards, armed securities, James Bond style biometric screening type thing. And we're talking about internal control. So I can tell you that no single person has access to client assets from Hex Trust. That I can share with you. But also, I think one thing is just as important as technology itself is regulations. Right, because obviously from exchanges perspective, people in this space are used to trading on exchanges because that's kind of the earliest form. Like for example, Mt. Gox, right? That's the earliest kind of venue for you to enable secondary trading. One of the main value prop for custodians is that we want to engage the regulators. We want to focus on compliance. We want to adhere to the strictest KYC and AML. So that's why we're licensed in Hong Kong. We're about to be full license in Singapore as well. So the idea here is that we, as the management team for the custodian, we're actually personally accountable by the regulators that if we were trying to do bad things or bad acting, people might go to jail. So we probably don't want that to happen.
What kind of licenses or regulations or do you follow in Hong Kong and Singapore that you've acquired so far?
Yeah, in Hong Kong we have two licenses. One is the trust company license. So this is why we're called Hex Trust, because in Hong Kong you actually can't have the word trust in your name unless you're actually a trust company license, right? So think about trust as basically we act as a fiduciary on behalf of a client's assets, right? So this is very much like State Street Trust, on my own trust, right? So it's the same exact trust license that really enable us to be the custodian on behalf of all client assets, though we certainly focus on digital assets. In Singapore, it's, I speak very highly of Singapore because the MAS in Singapore, the de facto central bank there, they've been very progressive and they're very accommodating, enabling sandbox environment for startups to, try it out. So in Singapore, there are two different licensing regime right now. One is called the PSA, the Payment Services Act, in which essentially all virtual asset service providers need to obtain, for which we are certainly, apply for. The other one is the Capital Market Service License. Basically, that one's under the securities rule. So the idea here is that we're not going to be caught up between what is security and what is not. We're just going to get the right licenses for both. So then we're not, we're always going to be, adhere to the strictest regulations.
All right, so no one likes talking about regulations, right? But like, Ivan, you have your quant fund and your structure here in Taiwan, so maybe you can touch upon how that was set up here in Taiwan and how you feel like, is Taiwan a good place, or what do you think about the ecosystem here?
Actually, in Taiwan, there's not I wouldn't say it's a good place for now to set up a crypto hedge fund or crypto mutual fund here because we don't have the regulation yet. We don't have the like formal jurisdiction here. So, but yeah, we've been set up this strategy for more than 2 years, and it's been running very well. And last year, the performance was 236%. Like it's very good compared to traditional finance. You cannot find this kind of ROI in traditional finance. So what we did is every client they got their own exchange account, and then they put their asset, say stable coins or Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, and then into their exchange account, and then we get APIs, right? So we do manage accounts. Yeah, so that's basically our strategy. So we got different kind of strategies. Many of them. Yeah, there's no secret sauce. It's just kind of buy loan strategy. So
what coins are these strategies? And can you maybe tell us a little bit about how you got such an amazing performance in such a short time?
Okay. So for example, like the one strategy is focused on Bitcoin. So we just convert stablecoin and Bitcoin back and forth. And the other one, we select a few, those major coins and then some popular coins, say Compound, yeah, and then XTZ, Cardano, you name it. So lots of major coins, and then we found some alpha and pretty much like some beta with it. So yeah, so it's kind of so we by the way we didn't develop that strategy by ourselves because we are better at the primary market, but not really like that good at the secondary market. So we work with our portfolios, like we invest in them. It's a US based company from New York, a bunch of really seasoned traders, 20 plus years traders, say Lehman Brothers or like Goldman Sachs. So yeah, so that's how we work together, and then they develop all those strategies, and then we go out and then hey, we got so many investors, clients, they can use these services, and we make money for clients.
I think we did a deep dive into Hex, but I don't think we really went over the structure of red building and your venture building and all the different umbrellas. Maybe you can elaborate on that so everyone really understands all the different things that you're doing here and that you're based in Taiwan.
Okay. Yeah, since that we were kind of not that young people here in crypto space, so yeah, we've been investing in crypto since 2017, and then since 2019 we do a lot of venture investments, including blockchain startups and some SaaS solutions and some IoT solutions. So Rebuilding Capital, we got venture fund and crypto fund, and besides that we got the structure of called Rebuilding Labs. So works more like a venture studio. So when you bring money to inject capital to startups, so what startups need? They need two things. One, capital funding. Two, they need business. So Rebuilding Labs bring business to our portfolios or our target investment projects. So yeah, because most of the time projects itself, they got really decent technology, core technology, but they are probably not good at BD, sales, project management. So we kind of handle these things for them. So when we found one potential projects we are really interested in, we probably sign a deal with them first, say distribution deal, and then we can try to sell their product, their solutions to those big companies, say quantum computer, SI companies. So we want to make sure the demand's there, and then we want to make sure the solution solves certain problems.
So are you basically, what are you looking for now? Are you looking for new projects or interesting startups to invest in? And do you only focus on Taiwan-based teams, or what is it you're looking for at the moment?
Okay. At the moment, I'm looking for all those Taiwan brilliant startups, since many of my investors, they are listing companies here in Taiwan or individuals, handlers. So yeah, so since GP always work with the LP, right? We are marriage. So not we serve them, but we should, that's our responsibility to make money for our investors. So we work really together. Most of the investors, they are my good friends. Yeah, and then we know each other for a while. So I would say projects come to rebuilding, and then especially like software startups, SaaS, blockchain startups, and then we can help.
Like at what stage, usually, or?
Okay. Oh yeah, the recently we focus on seed and pre-A stage, but after in the end of this year, I can look at some follow-on investment on A round.
Awesome. I feel like this is like we're all friends here. We're all in the space here in Taiwan, but I feel like it's quite a interesting pairing where we have someone who's like a huge figure in the Taiwan scene and someone who's really just not really focused on Taiwan at all. Is your goal to get these big institutionals that have Asia based? Is it your goal to sign on Taiwan based companies, or what are you looking for?
Yeah, so we're a startup, right? So we started 3 years ago. So the kind of what business school or startup mentorship will tell you is focus on market segmentations and basically crush that segment. So we know that some of our competitors who are deep pocketed, backed by Silicon Valley money, they're all in the U.S., right? It's trying to service the U.S. market. So that's fine. That's primary market for the time being. And so what we want to focus on is Asia. We want to be the best and the biggest in Asia, and I think we've already done that by various metrics. So, by being, Asia's leading digital asset custodian, certainly we want to be, being licensed or regulated by the relevant jurisdictions.
Asia's leading digital custodian.
I think that's our new tagline. So, I'll give the credit to our head of marketing for that. That's kind of what we're, now we're going to go to market as. But I think Ivan brought up a good point about kind of Taiwan regulation, right? And I think this is particularly interesting and personal to me, being Taiwanese myself, is that I feel like Taiwan, the government or the regulators, could really kind of promote or somehow be even more friendly to this ecosystem, right? We're still early in this stage. For example, MAS has sandbox environments, so to encourage startups to try things and don't be afraid to break things, but come over to Taiwan and try it out. I think that's one of the things that, from my limited understanding, is it's may not be as progressive as some of the other jurisdictions. I really feel like it's that the regulators here are missing out on potentially the future. And I think that Taiwan has the opportunity, because again, we're still in relatively an early stage of this industry, to really play a more kind of leadership role in Asia as a start, but certainly potentially worldwide in the future.
How about you, Ivan? Can you help your startups expand beyond Taiwan, or what are your views on that?
Okay, for sure. So we have some strategical co-investors in Singapore and Beijing, Korean, and some in Silicon Valley. So we try to bring this. We try to bring really good business to our portfolios, and then help them grow. And then probably at pre-A and A stage, they can be seen by some overseas ventures, those investors, because that's the way they go to. They can probably go out and then say, hey, let's go listing on Nasdaq. Let's go listing in Tokyo Stock Exchange. We have one example appear recently, right? Go to Japan and successfully IPO. So sorry, a little bit tipsy. So,
do you think companies in your portfolio have that opportunity, and you can help them, or what do you think for Taiwan startups?
Okay, actually, one of our portfolios, they are talking. I'm not sure if it's okay to talk about that, but I wouldn't reveal.
We love things that you can't talk about.
So they're talking to Google and Adobe, since they are security focused. So I think it's
what is the name of it?
I forgot. But we have so many talents here in terms of engineers, software engineers, hardware engineers. So but we don't have that kind of view, vision, or based probably our education, because since I grew up here. But
I think your education is really interesting. You went to top high school, top university, top exchange or internship or job in TSMC. Do you feel like this is going to stay the route of everyone, or do you feel that people are going to be more interested in being entrepreneurs now that the ecosystem is more built here?
I would say like depends on your personality and then what you like. So because I'm like at the moment I'm doing what I really like. So I feel very happy. I woke up at 6:30 and then we went to office working every day, even on holidays, weekends. But I'm still happy, right?
You're not working on weekends. I see you out.
I work on weekends, but anyway, so that's I mean the education here in Taiwan like could be better. I would say could be better, but it's this certain of training like we Taiwanese students we got another talents or certain skill sets, so we can like say we can count the numbers really quick. Yeah, right.
That's true, but I've had like 10. Google has an office here. There's a bunch of people coming here. I've had like 10 people saying like they want to have a, tech shop here in Taipei. Do you think that this is the route that this is really a good place for engineers, or do you feel like people from outside are going to start coming here looking for roles? What are your thoughts?
I would say like so many Taiwanese people, they are smart. So smart people, they can achieve a lot of things. For example, poker players. Like I saw a lot of good poker players, like Taiwanese, seriously, like the
global scale.
Yeah, global scale, exactly.
Or just in our weekly games.
No, I mean like not home games for sure, but global scales, like all those tournaments. Like I have a few friends that are really good at that.
This is like an Andrew Yang campaign. Taiwanese people are good at math.
Good at math, yes, and then come here to find talents.
Do you guys have I've been asking all the questions. Do you guys have any questions for yourselves?
Like for each other?
Yeah.
I actually have a question for company wise. So like how Hex Trust competing, low cost solutions or other solutions in Asia, for certain regional market.
Yeah, so I think the beauty of custody or this ecosystem is essentially borderless, right? So the way that we work with our clients are really two main ways. One is on the technology side, so we offer custody as a solution. So think about that as white labeling, pure, software subscription-based model. The other one is on the licensing approach, right? So this is kind of like traditional hedge funds appointing a third-party custodian, like State Street or BNY Mellon, from a licensing perspective. So we can go both ways. So the first way, I mean, again, it's from a technology perspective. There's really no, call it, regulation per se, because this is pure technology. Right, we have full set of APIs that if you want to build, integrate with our, APIs, you can do that, right? So that's one way. The other way is that, very much like you appoint us as a custodian. That means we have fiduciary responsibility on behalf of your assets. We have a legal doc, so you are protected by legal, requirements. Not to mention, KYC and all that good stuff. So that's another way as well.
Okay, I just want to say that I did not plan this out, but this looks like a budding. If anybody gets anything from this podcast, it's a potential future partnership I see here. But anyway, any questions for Ivan?
Yeah, so I think
who's your custody solution?
I see you coming.
And Amber just literally stole my second question, but I'll start with the first question. The first question is, as Amber alluded to, we just closed our Series A, so we would love for future collaboration on the VC side, and we will have a follow round to come. So that's one. The second part is absolutely on the custody side. So but I know it's kind of a half joke, right? But I do get this a lot on crypto funds that do not want to use custody for various reasons. So, and it's actually a legit reason, because a certain part of the infrastructure in crypto is still not mature yet, right, relative to the traditional market. So I know in hedge funds or crypto fund management perspective, capital efficiency is key, right? So I would love to get Ivan's thoughts on how do you think about capital efficiency and how custodians could potentially get better about that?
Okay, for example, to answer the second question first, yeah, exactly, the capital efficiency. So think about it. Like imagine you put all your crypto asset or say digital asset into custodian. So you cannot move it. You can trade it on a secondary market probably, but you cannot do other things like DeFi stuff, yield farming, or like investing primary market. So for me. That's good return, and then you cannot compete it with the secondary market trading. So that's capital efficiency. Yeah, totally agree. That's one problem. So how custodians they can improve? I would say custodian probably like is good enough at the moment. It's just the environment is like it's getting better because all these major players, say JP and then HSBC or other like banks, local banks, regional banks, they need this kind of tech solutions. So some sort of products who can help them to access to digital world, new economy. Because in the future, in the very near future, they gonna need it.
I just want to say also, there's a lot of other custody and security solutions here. Cold Wallet, for example, Cool Wallet, and Cybrano. There's a lot of like great startups in the space here in Taiwan. I'm just wondering though, what's stopping like big banks from having or other people having their own custody solutions?
Honestly, custody is a very, very tough business to be in. Not just from a business perspective, but from a technology perspective. I'll give you one example. Right, in the traditional world, let's say, again, I keep using BNY Mellon, State Street, JP Morgan, Northern Trust, because these are the big four. There's a reason why these are called the big four custodian banks, right? Because it consolidates towards the biggest player in the space. It's all about asset gathering for custodians. Now, think about in traditional world, right? So buying Apple stocks and buying Google stocks and buying Tesla stock, there's really not much difference from a technology perspective, okay? Now, coming to traditional or crypto assets, buying Bitcoin, buying Ethereum, and buying, say, XRP as an example, we're now talking 3 different blockchains. That means 3 different integrations. That means 3 different types of, documentations and, whether it's smart contracts or a type of integration that's needed. Now, if you move to, the newly kind of proof of stake chains, like Tesla's, for example, that was mentioned. So now we're talking about, okay, staking. Okay, well, people, investors want that, so that's additional integration perspective. On-chain governance, like voting for certain chains. Okay, that's more work. So from a custodian perspective, in order to support a wide breadth of assets, it's actually a lot of technology and mess behind the scenes that we, trying to integrate and, hide it from the plain sight of our front-end users.
Do you already have these integrations built in, or what are your steps? Are you thinking about entering into DeFi, into NFTs, or how does that look?
Yeah, so I keep using the word digital assets, right? So really we're in the space to, custody any digital representation of value, right? That's where we see kind of where the industry is going in the future. Now, obviously, right now the biggest kind of demand is coming on the cryptocurrency side, right? Like the Bitcoin. So we focus on the large caps, as well as, the likes of the ERC20 token standards for which we support. So I think we support about 95% of the coin market cap right now on the cryptocurrency side. We also support the likes of security tokens and certainly, NFTs, right, with, the ERC 721 standard with more to come. So our whole thing is that we're blockchain agnostic. We want to support where there's client demands. And so, with the rise of NFT this year and certainly beyond, we recognize that it's a huge market and huge growth potential ahead, and hence why we, went ahead and started the integration with ERC 721 as a start.
Oh, cool. So, like in the beginning of last year, I was in Switzerland. Everyone was talking about like, institutional adoption, everything like that. And now let's get into some like interesting, juicy things that I think everybody wants to know about. Like Ivan, how can people who are not in the crypto space, how can they get into it? How would you tell them to start? What would you tell them to be cautious of? Or what do you tell all of your millions of friends to how to enter the space?
That's too flattered. But you know what? Just come rebuilding. No.
Put your money in red bull.
Put your money in rebuilding. No. I mean, like for those, I would say outside of crypto worlds, like new players, like come from traditional world. So yeah, just try to, buy some Bitcoins or Ethereums, just like Tesla stocks. So when you start buying stocks, you will get to learn about it. You get notice about that. You like know what's going on there. Yeah.
So do you mean like start buying from local exchanges and getting the hang of it, or what do you mean? Like with Bitcoin or DeFi, what's the next thing, your projection?
Okay, I would say like yes, just buy from local local exchanges. Is like there are my coins, BitoX and then Ace. Just like we have the tools already, but probably like the people, they need more education. They need more know-how to to know like how to do it right. But still, it's everyone got a learning curve.
But there's like so much like hype machine, especially like here in Taipei. I mean, like besides following my show, how can people be careful of like all of this like shill?
You mean like lots of sorry, I didn't get it.
Like how can people be cautious and be steered in the right direction before investing or doing their own DD?
Okay, yeah, just come everybody. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding again. No, just like you probably have someone like you are very close to, and then your girlfriend, your family. So who knows? No, not rebuilding. I mean cryptocurrency for a little bit and blockchain, etc. So when you don't know how to do it, like right, yeah, you can come to us, and then we are very happy to share. Like some, for example, like a few of my friends, they are like very successful, like entrepreneurs, or like 企业老板, and they invite me to do some sharing of blockchain cryptocurrency internally or externally. So I see it's good. I mean, like more and more people, they get to know about blockchain, about cryptocurrency, about the new economy. And yeah, we saw it coming like a few years ago, and then like I'm very happy like so many people saw it coming at the moment.
So by the way, if you get anything from the show, also there's Red Building and there's Hex here in Taipei. Just kidding. What do you mean? People saw it coming. You mean that this wave was predictable, or what does that mean?
Yeah, so basically, like for example, Bitcoin, like 4 years halving again, halving once, right? So that's why like we can see the cycle probably like 4 or 5 years. There's a cycle in cryptocurrency. So actually, we are preparing for 2025 right now already.
I saw it coming too. I just forgot to buy. No, just kidding.
Yeah, just buy some. Like just like stocks. Just buy some.
Not financial advice, but what should we be buying?
I would say sushi. No, I'm kidding again. Just Bitcoin. Yeah.
It was hard to find Bitcoin Max here in Taipei, but I think we have one on the show tomorrow. But any other advice on like you people in the space, like what to buy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any comments on what to buy. I mean, I think, always do your own due diligence. So coming from a traditional buy-side portfolio management background, right, I was always taught to diversify, right? So never put your eggs in one basket. Again, not investment advice, right? So think about it. But my personal opinion is that from an overall portfolio asset allocation perspective, I do think there is a place for cryptocurrency. Whatever allocation that you think you're comfortable with, but should have some small allocation to it as a start, and then just think about the risk return profiles, and you can take it from there.
I'm sure you're seeing that a lot, Ivan, with your investors who want to get into the space through their quant fund and through your portfolio companies. What do you predict, or what do you see happening in the next 6 months to a year? What is your focus, or?
So we are setting up crypto hedge fund with some institutions, like signing some deals with it, and I would say like by the end of this year we will set up some structures that we can up and running crypto hedge fund, and then we do need custody solutions. So Calvin, you know what to do.
Absolutely, yeah, and just also on that note, right? So one of our client, Huobi Asset Management, they actually recently announced their approval from the Hong Kong SFC. So this is just another way, you can get a Bitcoin tracker fund, which is licensed by the regulators in Hong Kong. So that's kind of another way of getting exposure to Bitcoin, right? It's a passive fund, just like passive S&P, for example, to kind of get your foot in the door. So that's kind of long Bitcoin, nothing fancy about it, get the exposure. Now, once you're in it, it's regulated, it's custody by Hex Trust. If you want to tell, kind of different type of exposure with active hedge funds strategy type exposure, then head over to Red Building Capital for that.
Okay, stop.
Awesome.
I think that Taiwan is an interesting space. There's a lot of startups here and people who are like, social traders or follow like these social KOLs or things like that. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see that also?
Yeah, I see that we know a project here in Taiwan like like eToro X, something like that. Social trading, you can follow certain opinion leaders or certain traders. I think I like it. I like the idea. It's a good idea, and it makes fun out of trading, because like pure trading is boring. I mean, like it's really boring. I mean, you need to fight your humanity. You need to do something, like some certain moves. You don't want to. You don't need to, but you gotta do it because that's trading.
So, what do you think is the next big thing to encourage mass adoption? Do you think it's going to be these sort of social trading or access to quant strategies or this NFTs, or what are your thoughts, Ivan?
You know what? Apple buying Bitcoin. Simple as that.
That's the next headline, okay?
Yeah.
We'll title this episode "Apple Buys Bitcoin."
Yeah, because since Tesla, like Elon Musk, so that's the one pump of Bitcoin we call Elon pump, because Elon Musk go out there and then say, hey, let's buy Bitcoin. There's so many people like they are looking at Bitcoin right now, right?
Wait, so who's the Elon Musk variation of Taiwan equivalent?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Actually,
Or Asia. I know Paris Hilton is into NFTs. That's the only celebrity news that I've heard. So what would be the equivalent? Who can we reach out to next for like Asia? Calvin, thoughts? Anyone?
Asia.
That's a good question. I actually haven't thought about that.
Jay Cho probably.
I think Jay Cho. Yeah, Jay Cho.
Yeah, he have his own NFT. I mean, he can definitely have his own NFT with his albums and stuff like.
He had the
he's
gaming.
Esport team.
Yeah, esport team.
Right. Yeah, I think so. Recently, we bring one of our friends. They are coming on board to issuing NFT soon. So yeah, let's keep it like classified at the moment. But it's coming out soon, end of this month, I guess.
Is it a Taiwanese person?
It's American.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other fun, interesting news you can release here, guys?
Since you are already married, but
yeah, I mean, I think the next big thing, well, like they call it next 6 to 12 months, right? I mean, I think Elon Musk is obviously a huge news, because MicroStrategy was actually the first call it the S&P company to allocate corporate treasury to Bitcoin. There's definitely more to come, and I expect more to come on that. So, I mean, I think the rhetoric is still the same, right? We've been talking about institutional assets are coming. Institutional money is coming, right? So, though we've been saying that for the past, 3 to 5 years and counting. What makes this year and late last year unique is we actually see it. Like, it's concrete. We actually see Tesla. We see MicroStrategy. We see Mass Mutual and traditional insurance company. So we see more of that to come. And obviously, that just going to, the typical rhetoric, right, that for Bitcoin at least, that the supply is limited and demand is surging. So what do you expect the price would be? You can do your own.
Yeah, and great scale. Yeah, right. So we saw a lot of companies, they apply for Bitcoin ETF, and they're in the line for a while. And it's like more and more companies joining this line. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
So Ivan, you're married too, right? And have a nice family at home. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
For all those out there.
Contact Ivan offline, please.
Call here.
Any closing notes or fun facts of you guys? What's your favorite food?
Food. Interesting. I would say sushi at the moment.
Yeah, so one of
Oh my God, are you gonna go into a Hex pitch again?
No,
About
no, absolutely not. I mean, there's no. I'm a big foodie, so this is actually even more interesting to talk about than custody. I promise you that.
Probably.
No, by far. I mean, So being Taiwanese, but grew up in the States, I've always enjoyed coming back to Taiwan because of the food. Like the night market here, it's just amazing. I'm just glad that I'm not on camera. I think I'm not on camera because I must have gained like 10 pounds. And since I've been in Taiwan, true story. My favorite food in the whole world is niu rou mian because that's just the best thing ever. So I enjoy that.
Okay, I have another thought. So because I've experienced lockdown and COVID, but you guys haven't. You guys have all been in Taiwan. How do you think COVID has affected sort of the crypto industry and in Taiwan in general?
Okay, I can speak for that because actually COVID-19 enhanced some domains, some industries, say remote work, video conferences, and even blockchain technology SaaS, because we need technology to help us, right? Like we got issues right now, we got emergency right now, we got major problem right now, so we need some solutions. So we find out technology is a way out.
I think like you have experience with TSMC. That's been one of the main sort of like profiteers of this COVID. Do you feel still though that Taiwan is closed off for the rest of the world, and is that going to affect the future when COVID is no longer here?
No, actually TSMC already built that wall like high enough. Like I would say like every IC design house, like when they have like some very like innovative design, like very good design, they should come to TSMC and make it real. So that's what I see. And then when TSMC make all the chips, they deliver to like car industry or like like IoT devices, all those other startups or like enterprises.
So you feel Taiwan will come out stronger?
I hope so. And then I got a faith.
How about you?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm one of the people that basically in Taiwan because of the pandemic, right? It's one of the few places in the world where you're essentially free, in once you're in the border. So I actually do notice that there's a lot of kind of established, whether it's entrepreneurs or established, expats, they all came back to Taiwan during this time because obviously, again, Taiwan's great. So Taiwan's actually become a very good networking place because I actually meet. I mean, literally, we're in the same room talking, right? So that we can actually meet these very established people, face to face. And I think this also gives them the opportunity to think about, okay, why not set up shop in Taiwan? Think about how to hire. Think about replicating their success elsewhere within States and Europe or wherever else, and setting up a company in the U.S. in Taiwan. So I think this kind of provides an opportunity for that.
So we're gonna close out here and continue to drink some beers in this office that everyone has left. But anything else, or let's just shut it down. What are your last words? Buy Bitcoin. I don't know. Thoughts? 300K end of year Bitcoin. Or no?
Probably 100K. I'm happy enough.
Yeah, I don't have any price prediction. So, but I am bullish for the long term. So definitely get some allocation to it.
Likewise.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been really fun and very organic and natural. So thank you guys so much for coming.
Thanks, Amber. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Calvin.
Thanks, Evan.